Okay, so today we are going to be doing my August TBR, talking all the books I plan to read in the month of August. I'm really excited about this TBR because there are some books that I've been waiting a long time to get to that I'm finally getting to, and with others, I'm just really intrigued to read them. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it. I'm not going to be giving premises for all of these, so what I will do is I will leave the GOODREADS description links below so that you can click on them and check them out yourself if you want to. Okay, the first book I'm going to read in the month of August is actually going to be a reread for me, and that book is The Heroes of Olympus, The Lost Hero, which is book number 1 in the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. This is a middle grade book that I read nearly a year and a half ago. I read it in March of 2020. I loved it so much that I always planned on continuing on with the series. I ultimately found out that this series is a spin-off to the Percy Jackson series, so I decided to read the Percy Jackson series first. I read the first book, it was okay. I did not like the second book, so I ended up DNFing that series, but I always wanted to continue on with this series, just never did, but finally am this month. I'm rereading this as the first book that I read in August, because the second book that I'm going to read in August is book number 2. Which is The Heroes of Olympus, the Son of Neptune. So I'm incredibly excited to finally be reading book number 2, but because it's been a year and a half, I best read book 1 first. The next book that I'm reading is one of the Mr. Francy buddy read books of the month, and that is Hollowpox, which is book number 3 in the Nevermore series. So I read Nevermore many months ago. Last month I read Wondersmith. I absolutely loved both of them. I gave them both 5 stars. I'm really intrigued to get into book number 3. I'm going to be reading this with Jessica from Lady Lovestead Reads. I have a Discord, which I'll put in the description below. If you want to join us for this read, please feel free to come along. This world is filled with such whimsy and wonder. I absolutely love it. It's by Jessica Townsend, and it is middle grade fantasy. I can't wait to keep going with this series, and I hear that book 4 is coming out at some point soon too, so maybe that will be on a future TBR as well. I've just really enjoyed myself so far with this series. The next book that I'm going to read is going to help me with one of my goals that I have for the end of the year, which is to read 6 straight romance books by the end of the year. I'm doing really well at the moment. I think I've read 3 so far, so halfway through, woo! My next straight romance book is going to be this book, Sophie Kinsella's I've Got Your Number. This is probably an edition that if you've seen this book on BookTube, you're not really used to, because it's not the popular edition. I'll be frank, this is the cheaper edition, so I decided to pick up this edition. Despite the fact that I love how the other one looks, I want to read this book first and see if it's worthwhile paying the money for the better looking book, because the better looking one is really expensive. But yeah, so I'm going to read it, and if I absolutely love it, I'll replace it. If it's okay, I won't, and if I don't like it, I'll be unhauling it at the end of the year anyway. But I'll leave the description link below so you can check that out. But I've heard really good things about this one for a romance. It'll be my first Sophie Kinsella, so I am excited about that. We'll see how we go. The next book I'm going to read is going to help me with another goal that I have set, which is to finish out Era 1 and Era 2 of the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. I will be up to book number 7, which is Heartless by Sarah Shepard. So far, this series has been okay. I think it's good. I've seen the show many times. I can't help but compare the two because I have seen the show that many times and I loved it that much. I don't think, had I not watched the show, that I would have kept going with this series, but it's okay for what it is. So I've got 2 more left. This is the second last one, book 7, so we'll see how we go. The next book that I'm going to read is the Murphy Napier Patreon Buddy Read Book of the Month. Yes, that is quite a mouthful to say in one breath. That book is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This is an ARC, an advanced reader copy, which is why the title is not on the cover. It's there. Okay, Piranesi, Susanna Clarke. This is an adult fantasy. Don't really know much about it, don't want to know much. The very little that I've been told is that we follow a character by the name of Piranesi that we just come to love as a reader, so that sounds good. I have not been keeping up with the Murphy Napier Patreon Buddy Read Books of the Month this year. However, last month they read The Bone Shard Daughter, and this month they're reading Piranesi. Those books are 2 books that I already had on my TBR for this year anyway, so, you know, it was convenient to pick it up and read. We'll talk about Bone Shard Daughter in my next video, which is my July wrap-up, but this is the one we're going to be reading in August. I'm actually intrigued. Everyone seems to love the character of Piranesi, so I want to love the character of Piranesi too. The next book that I'm going to read is one of my 2021 most anticipated books of the year, and that is this book, which is such a beautiful, beautiful cover, The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is an adult historical fiction, and the basic premise of this book is that we're following a woman who opens up an apothecary with the intention to sell poisons to women who are in loveless, torturing marriages, and these potions, these apothecary bottle potion things, are meant to inflict torture on their torturous husbands. So it'll be a way to get revenge and get back at them. I am not a massive historical fiction fan. The only book that I love is actually right up here, so I'll show it to you guys. This book, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I loved this book so much, but it's literally the only historical fiction that I love. But the premise of this book, The Lost Apothecary, just sounds so amazing that I've been putting it off because it doesn't make sense. I'm putting it off because I'm looking forward to it. It's one of those things where you kind of save the best to last kind of deal. So I've been putting it off knowing it's going to be amazing when I get to it. I hope I haven't hyped it up too much for myself, but I am so excited to get into this book. You know, the saddest thing, if you just saw that, is the book that just hit me was one of my most favorite books of 2020, Letters to the Lost. I mean, how rude. Maybe it's jealous that I'm doing a reread of Heroes of Olympus. I will reread you one day. I do love you as a book. Moving on. The next book that I'm going to read in the month of August is another one of my 2021 most anticipated new releases, and that is this beautiful edition of The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. I wish I could tell you how to acquire a copy of this book, but okay. When I first saw this book being advertised, which was months and months and months before it was even released, this was the cover that I saw, and I just really loved the cover from the first time I saw it. Unfortunately, when the book was officially published, it was published with a completely different edition cover, which really annoyed me because I don't like the new edition. So I scoured the internet looking everywhere for this one. And I have it. So I'm very happy that I do. I think, generally speaking, this edition was given out as an ARC copy, an advanced reader copy, but I guess there was someone out there who was given it as an ARC copy and they didn't want it anymore. That's fine. I'll have it. I love the cover, so I'll take it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This book is an adult sci-fi. It revolves around a woman who has been married to her husband for a while. She suspects that he is cheating on her, so she builds a replica of herself to find out if she is right. And I am excited to read this book. I love the replica trope. In 2020, I read an audio-only book, I'll put a picture of it up there, called The Reckoners by Brandon Sanderson and Mary Robinette Cowell. And I absolutely loved that audio book, and I love the trope of building replicas and seeing what happens with them. So I'm very intrigued by this, and I'm so happy I have the cover that I want to. The next book that I'm going to read is going to help me fulfill, to complete a goal, because this is the last book that helps me do that, and that is to read the first 5 books in the Animorphs series. So in August, I'm reading book 5 in the Animorphs series, which is The Predator by K.A. Applegate. The Animorphs series is a middle grade sci-fi series. I very recently did a review for books 3 and book 4, and those reviews will be coming out, I think, in 2 videos time, so look out for them. They are spoiler filled because they needed to be. I had so much to say, but I'm very intrigued to go into this 5th and final Animorphs read for me for the year, and so far I'm definitely going to continue on with the series next year. The next book that I'm going to read is this book, Goosebumps Stay Out of the Basement. I am so excited. This is going to help me with my goal to read the first 5 Goosebumps books. So earlier this year, I read Welcome to Dead House book number 1, and I absolutely loved it. I gave 5 stars. We won't talk about My Hairiest Adventure that I read last year that I gave 1 star to. Moving on. So I'm looking forward to reading book number 2, because book number 1 was actually really good. I don't know much about the premise of this book, so I'll, again, leave the link in the description below. But Yeah, I'm really looking forward to giving R.L. Stine this second chance. So far it's going well. Let's hope it goes well with book number 2. The next book that I'm going to be reading will be my first classic of the month, which is going to help me with my classics goal. I have a goal to read 12 classics by the end of the year, and it is also my second Mr. Francy Buddy Read book of the month, and that book is this book, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. This book literally arrived 30 seconds before I began this video, which is just fantastic because I would have had to edit a picture in, and now I don't have to do that anymore because the book is here. You have no idea how much that means to me, guys. Let me have this win. Woo! I don't really remember much about this. I have listened to a rather condensed children's condensed version of this book on audiobook, and I loved it. I'm trying to remember what it's about. All I remember is that we're following a boy who goes on a pirating adventure, I guess. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading the adult version, so we'll see how we go. I'm going to categorize this as an adult classic, and I'm intrigued. So if you want to join me for this buddy read, the link to my Discord is in the description below, so feel free to come along and join me. Normally, I only do 2 Mr. Fantasy buddy reads per month, but this month we are doing 3 because I happened to mention to some classic fanatics that I'm going to read 2 classics this month, and these fanatics said, we want to join you for both of them. So it's like, okay, fine, we'll have 3 buddy reads this month because why the heck not? So my third Mr. Fancy buddy read book of the month, as well as my second classic of the month, is going to be this book, The Secret Garden, by, I don't even know. Here we go. Francis Hodgson Burnett. Why am I having so much trouble saying Hodgson? Francis Hodgson Burnett. Okay, again, an adult classic. So, I can give you the premise of this because I've not only seen the film many times, I've also listened to, again, like with Treasure Island, a condensed children's edition, so I can give you a rough guide. We're following a girl by the name of Mary Lennox, who I believe her parents die, or there's a situation that happens very early on, so she has to go live with her uncle in a mansion, and she gets very bored until she finds a secret garden. I'm going to leave it at that. There is a whole lot more to the story, as I'm sure you can imagine, but the rest will, give away too much. But I love what I've consumed so far of adaptations of this work. So this is the original book. So I loved the film so much. I loved the children's condensed audio edition that I've listened to many times so much that I'm really looking forward to reading the original work. So, apparently I'm going to have 3 Mr. Fancy buddy reads for the month of August, because why the heck not? So if you want to join me for The Secret Garden, once again, my Discord is in the description. Click on the link there. If you don't have a Discord, then you'll just be prompted to set up your own profile. It really doesn't take long at all. If you have one, click on the link and voila, you're there. Looking forward to joining all of you guys for our buddy reads. And the final book that I'm going to read for the month of August, if we don't have too many already, is this book, White Sand Volume 3, which is going to help me to, first of all, complete what has been published so far of the White Sand series. This is by Brandon Sanderson, and it's an adult fantasy, by the way. But also, it's going to help me with another goal that I have, which is to complete all of the published books in Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere timeline. So I'm excited to do that. So I read Volume 1 in June. I came off reading Volume 2 about 2 books ago, and spoiler for our monthly wrap, oh my gosh, Book 2 was so good, and the way it ended, I need to read me book Volume 3 right now, right this second, but I won't. I'll hold off. I'll try. But I love this world. I can't say much about it because it would be a spoiler. The basic setup of the premise of the series is that the magic system that our characters are using involves sand, holding a grain of sand and manipulating the sand to do certain things. It's quite political, and it's very much also like a dystopian world, I guess, in that way, where we have all different class/caste systems. And yeah, it has, for reasons to do with our protagonist, it becomes very political along the way. Every time I read the political type book, that's a fiction book, I really enjoy it. So, and Brandon Sanderson does politics really well in his fantasy world. So, I'm not surprised I'm enjoying it with this series. And now for the hardest edition of everyone's favorite game that we like to call These are the books that I plan to read. There's too many. These are the books that I plan to read in the month of August for 2021. I tell you what, this up game just gets harder and harder every time, and the thicker the books are and the more books that I have on my TBR, it just gets harder and harder to do. So I want to put a challenge out to anyone who's doing a TBR video. Play the up game with me. And if you do, let me know so I can go, send me the link so I can go and watch your video where you play up. Trust me, if you have more than 10 books and some of them are really thick books, it's really hard to go up in a video. But that is where I am going to leave it. What are you planning on reading in the month of August? Let me know in the comments below. But in the meantime, letting you guys go, peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!